roster today. Also, Jazz was very influential in setting up this event. And if you look at the centerpieces, one of the things on there is a roster that has pictures. If you're anything like me, you love pictures. So as I talk about some of these players, hopefully you can put a name to a face. You know, we started practice about a month ago on September 23rd. It seems like a long time ago, but really when you think about it, 4 weeks of practice isn't very much. We had the opportunity on Sunday to have a scrimmage against outside competition, so for the first time, we had somebody lined up against us that didn't have a Husky practice jersey on. It was really good for us. It was perfect timing, I think, to kind of find out where we're at, hopefully sift through some things, have some great film to break down. So that was a really good event for us. And then obviously Andy mentioned it. Coming up on Sunday is our exhibition game, so it's the first time to see us in uniform against somebody else. That's going to be a really fun event as well. I also want to shout out to a couple of support staff people who are so instrumental in getting this team prepared to compete. And the first one is Trevor Boyd. He's our strength and conditioning coach, and he is like on 24/7 as far as what we believe this team needs from a strength and conditioning standpoint, from a recovery standpoint. Anything Trevor can do to make these guys be as ready to compete as possible, he does. And he's been tremendous in the off season as far as making us bigger, stronger, and hopefully a lot faster. And he's done just a great job when it comes to that. Adam Kapp is our athletic trainer, and much like Trevor, his availability to the players is tremendous. He's always looking for different things to try as far as getting them, again, to feel as good as they can in order to compete. So those two have been really, really important to our program and have done a great job. And we've also been able to have some continuity as far as that's concerned. You know, we had some positions to fill on this year's roster with graduation from last year. And we really feel like we assembled a roster that fits what our style of play is. And that really comes down to being able to continue to play with pace. Another thing that I think we really addressed with this roster is to get a little bit bigger and more athletic, and we were able to do that, especially in the transfer portal. Our freshmen aren't very big, but our transfers have good size. I think that also helps us defensively, again, to be able to disrupt things on the defensive end and hopefully leading to better pace on the offensive end. And just as importantly, I think it put us in position to be a lot deeper than we have before. We have a full 15 on our roster. Of those 15, 9 of them are upperclassmen. So I'm really excited about that opportunity to be deeper as well. While we looked at the transfer portal, we have some great freshmen. Really, the core of our team is experienced upperclassmen. You're going to get an opportunity to hear from Shelby, Sid, and Stoney later. But I think returning that core and really all of our starters or players who have started a lot of games for us puts us in a position to have a great solid foundation. We have added some experienced transfers as well who have done it at the collegiate level. That was also really important in the assembly of this roster. And then, like I mentioned, I'm excited about our young players, and they're going to have an opportunity to learn from some of the best in the MAC. And I think that experience every day in practice will be invaluable. So that's the recipe for success, right? The experience back, the transfers that plug holes, and some great young kids. So if we did it right, which I firmly believe we have, it should be an exciting season. So we have 7 returners, okay, and many of those faces are familiar. 5 of those have been starters for us, and I'm going to start with the oldest on top. Shelby is back for her 6th season. Okay, when she leaves this institution, she'll leave with 3 degrees, which is pretty amazing. You know, lost last season due to a knee injury. I can tell you, especially after watching her on Sunday, she is back to being Shelby that we all know and love from the last, 5 years. She is a 3-time All-MAC performer. Today, the preseason rankings and All-MAC teams came out, and obviously a lot of them forgot that Shelby was back because she wasn't on that top 10 list, but we also know that she's one of the best guards in the league, so I'm sure that'll be a little bit more fuel to the fire, which is awesome. You know, all of you again who have been around the program for a while know the impact that she can have on the floor, especially at that point guard position. And she's got a wealth of experience, and it's not just from the time that she's been on the court, but unfortunately the time that she's been off the court. I think that's really helped her understand the game, see the game differently, and really know where everybody is and needs to be on the court to be successful. So we couldn't be more excited to have Shelby back. Excuse me. Another returner, Brooke Stonebreaker, as a fifth-year graduate student, so she'll finish and leave again NIU with 2 different degrees. Just today, the All-MAC teams I just mentioned were announced, and Brooke was on the All-MAC preseason team, so that's not a surprise to anybody. You know, the transformational season that she had last year, like you can't help but put a smile on your face, right? She kept her head down, kept working, and when her opportunity was presented, she, you know, was really able to have a coming out party when it came to the MAC and her effectiveness on the basketball court. And she's worked really hard to continue to grow in that role, and I think anytime you now have a year under your belt of being a starter, being a go-to player, a lot of those nerves that maybe she experienced last year are now in the rearview mirror. So, you know, she's the best post player in the MAC. There's no doubt about it. And that's not just me saying it. The 5 first teamers are all guards. She is definitely the best post player in the MAC, and we can't wait to see what her senior season has in store. Another 5th-year senior, Sid McCray. She is in the process of interviewing for a lot of opportunities for med school. Again, many of you know her academic history. She graduated with her degree in biomedical engineering, has applied to a lot of medical schools, has been on a couple of interviews already. So she is affectionately known as Dr. McCray a lot of times around the office. You know, but she started 17 games for us last year, shot 38% from 3. And a lot of times when I think about Sid, I think about the reason why she's a captain is she knows what to say, when to say it, why it needs to be said, and her delivery is usually on point. So her being in that leadership group for me is just a sense of comfort knowing that she's your voice of reason, she's your level-headedness, right? You don't get too high and you don't get too low with Sid, which makes her a really effective leader and a really effective player. So like I mentioned, you'll get a chance to hear from those senior captains excuse me, later. The other senior on the roster, who again I think is going to have a tremendous year, is Laura Nickel. Laura started 38 games for us, 38 games for us in her career. You know, she looks as good as ever. She had a little bit of a setback last year with a knee injury that happened in the first game of the regular season, but you would never know. She has come back as good or better than ever. Somebody who can really get to the rim and defend, and looking for her to have a big year on the court as well. The one thing I will also say about these 4 seniors is they all chose to finish their careers here, right? And in this day and age, with all the opportunities that different players have in the transfer portal, they could have all sought other opportunities, especially because they came here and they got their degrees from NIU, which is the expectation that I have for anybody who walks through the door as a freshman. But what they decided to do, because of one of the only good things probably that came out of COVID, is they decided to take that extra year and stay here with something to prove. Their loyalty to the program is something that I don't take for granted. I don't think anybody should take for granted. And again, it's something I'm super proud of. So when I stand up here or talk to you all in the middle or late March, and we were able to accomplish what they came back to do, it's going to be a pretty remarkable moment. So let's give it up for those 4 seniors. Another player that's back that started the last 14 games for us last year is Brooke Blumenfeld. Again, a very talented, athletic forward who is versatile, can score in a lot of different ways. And I think the biggest thing that I see in Blue in her growth is her ability to really play on both ends of the floor. We already knew that she could score the basketball, but I've seen her really grow on the defensive end. And to be honest, that's what I'm the most proud of when she steps on the floor. We have two seniors, Maddie Faye and Shannon Blatcher. Both of them are definitely sophomores. I think I said seniors. I meant sophomores, I'm sorry. You know, when you go from your freshman year to your sophomore year, one of the things that you absolutely see with two people who have worked really hard is just a different level of comfort and confidence, right? When they step on the floor, they know who they are, they know what the expectation is, and it's been very seamless for them to come to practice and be a great role models for our freshmen, but also to blend in so nicely with our upperclassmen. So I think both of them have the opportunity to have great years as well. So that takes me to the new faces, okay? So here's where you have to pay attention, right? So in the transfer portal, we, again, decided we needed to get bigger, we needed to get longer, and we wanted to have players who had experience at the collegiate level. So what we didn't do is just look at, let's say, Power 4, Power 5 schools, players who really never saw the floor, but they were at the end of the bench, right? We wanted players who had been effective at their previous school and knew what it was like to play Division I or collegiate basketball, and it wasn't going to be a surprise to them, right? All 5 transfers that we have 2 years of eligibility, so we don't have any grad transfers that you're only going to see for a year. All of them will be here for 2, which again, I think is super important, especially with the makeup of our roster. And I'll start with Alicia Doyle. So Lise came from Southeast Missouri. She was a starter and their leading scorer. She averaged over 13 points a game for them, was an all-Ohio Valley conference player, so brings in a wealth of experience and has had a lot of success, again, already at the Division I level. She's a guard that can really do it all, right? She's athletic, she can guard, she can get to the rim, she's got a really nice pull-up game, and she has a way better three-point shot than she gives herself credit for. So I think she's gonna, again, kind of blend in seamlessly to what we want to do on both ends of the floor. The next transfer I'll talk about is Reagan Barkema. So Reagan was a starter at Bradley University. She made 45 threes for them last year, so she's a stretch 4 for us, right? She's not somebody that you would think of that is necessarily overpowering at the forward position, but she can sure stretch the floor. So she's somebody that we'll use in a lot of pick and pop situations, and again, she's going to be a tough matchup for a lot of forwards. Maria Saracanta is a transfer from Mercer, and she is also from Spain. Maria is a 6-foot point guard, so again, somebody at that position that has great size. She sees the floor extremely well, great passer. Again, probably a better scorer than she gives herself credit for. We're going to continue to let her know that we have all the faith in the world in her ability to get to the rim. She has a good pull-up, and again, especially recruiting-wise out of high school, was a great three-point shooter. So I think she'll be really good in a backup point guard role, and she has adapted very quickly to what we're trying to do from a system standpoint. Another player from Spain, but is by way of McNeese State, is Marta Hermoso. Marta is about 6'2", really long forward. Probably her favorite thing to do offensively is shoot the 3, so again, somebody who can really stretch the floor. But defensively, she is much more comfortable guarding a more traditional post player. So the combination of that gives us a lot of options on places that she can play on the floor.